So Marcel, great day out there today.
Yeah.
Are you having a good time or how are you doing?
I'm sad that I have to spend it in here and not there, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm alright, I'm good.
It's something that we have to do. There's no way around it. So I remember we had a conversation off the record about your journey to Hult, or about how you started as a management consultant at KPMG in Germany, and then you came here to Hult. Do you want to explore that topic? Is that something that you're interested in speaking about?
I can absolutely speak about it. It's just, like always, exactly. I did my undergrad in Stuttgart, then dual degree, then managerial consultant at KPMG, and then I came to Hult out of a passion, like for doing university in America, for a certain, being certain that I do my masters. I wanted to do that, and the program is pretty cool to have like 1.5 years, 2 master's degrees were both highly anticipated by me though. So yeah, I'm very happy here with that. I like the pace of the business university, of the business school. That's something I really enjoy. So yeah, no frauds in here.
So this transition is quite interesting. If I understand correctly, you are sort of from a very comfortable position that you were in Germany. You took the challenge of coming here to Boston, and can we explore the reasons why you did that? Why not some other school, or why not some other geography? Why is it just Boston, and why is it Hult? And how do you see yourself carrying this experience forward, translating this into something tangible in the near term and the long term? How do you see yourself? How do you envision yourself in the next few years?
Okay, that's a lot to process. So,
Let's take it step by step. So, what's your very pressing objective right now? Once you're done with your master's degree, what's the next thing that's on your mind?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. So, of course, for everyone, I do my second master's degree till May in San Francisco, and then I'm in front of a big question. So I have the possibility to go back to Germany and work again for KPMG as a consultant. I'm still employed, silently employed. So that's basically a very nice, comfortable plan B. My plan A though is to stay in the US and work here. But because I have a very nice plan B, my standards are very high when it comes to the work opportunities in America. It should be better than what expects me at home, right?
That's true.
So that's a very high standard. And another challenge for me besides the standard is that I basically have 3 career paths that I'm considering, and to balancing them out or deciding for 1 or 2 of them, or to manage all 3 ways is a challenge on its own.
Okay, so can we just briefly speak about these 3 career paths that you can take, and maybe assign them on a level or on a scale of 1 to 10 as to which career path is something that's achievable and which career path is something that will give you great joy. So let's talk about let's talk about the reality of these paths in front of you, and also which path will give you the most joy, or which path will be more fulfilling.
All right. So to make sure, 3 paths. 1 path would be stay in management consulting, but probably something higher than KPMG, and there's not that much, to be honest, in that sphere. So BCG would be 1 part, like BCG, maybe Bain, maybe media consultancy that I have in mind. So there are a few consulting firms, management consulting, that I would be interested in, and I would say it's achievable. Because I'm already experienced as a management consultant.
Right.
That not easy because BCG, let's face it,
Right.
super
Very good.
fulfilled with a lot of candidates, right? But interesting. That's one part. Another
On a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of being realistic and achievable, and secondary,
Joyful and
in
fulfilling.
terms of fulfillment, yeah.
1 is good or bad? 10 is best?
10 is best.
10
Let's
is
say 10
best.
is the highest. Yeah.
10 is the highest. So I would say it's a 7 on achievable
Okay.
and a 4 on enjoyable.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Then the next part would be the, how do you call it? The big badass company part. So we
Okay.
talk about Google,
Okay.
we talk about Apple,
Okay. The top 50 companies.
maybe Amazon.
25
The,
top 50.
yeah, so 50 because industry-wise not central. So the top, how do you call the top tech companies? They have a special name, right? Like
Fortune.
something with Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook.
Okay.
They have a special name for
Fortune.
yeah, they have an acronym. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, these 4, right?
Okay.
So one of these 4 companies.
Right.
Interesting for me because of the working environment there, because it's of course a prestigious, interesting name, and I want to like get a bite of that experience. And I think I would really strive in a very challenging environment. That's how I am, and that would it be, right? Let's talk about the scale. Achievable, less achievable, I would say. So, I would say it's a 3, maybe 4,
Okay.
3.5.
4.
And when it comes to joyful, I would say
You would be more fulfilled.
absolutely. So this is a solid, I don't know, 8 probably, right?
Cool.
Last path would be something industry-wise very far away from my expertise, but close to my passion and hobby-wise, which is the media industry,
Right.
film production. So we talk about companies like Disney, like Universal,
Okay.
like Amazon Studios,
Okay.
or Netflix. Netflix would be super interesting
Okay.
because it's also tech. Yeah, and that's something I would be very joyful about, but it's hard to achieve as well. So maybe a bit easier to achieve than Google, Apple, and Amazon and Facebook. So I would give that maybe a 4 or 5.
Let's say 5.
All right, but even more joyful at the same page. So like 8, also 8.
Okay.
All
So
right.
equally as fulfilling as working for the
Yeah.
top 4 tech companies. Okay. So I guess the latter 2 parts are quite similar in nature, and of course your first path is something that you're quite used to. So my understanding, and I might be wrong on this part, but your preferred 2 paths are either working for the top tech companies or the top media companies, and management consulting is a backup plan, something that you can fall back on if things don't work out as they're supposed to, which I'm sure they will. Now, as we have explored the options and realities around these options, what's the approach? What's the motivation for you for the last 2 goals? The first is pretty straightforward. My understanding is you are motivated, but perhaps not as motivated as you might be for the other 2. So let's just talk about the last 2 options and what would be required for you to achieve these goals. Very quickly, let's cover this.
Okay,
very quickly.
so 2 things here out of the question is the motivation and the requirements.
Motivation and what would you do actually to make this real?
Okay, so my motivation is one part something that is more passion related. On the big tech firm, it's like the passion of innovation,
Right.
and on the media part of film part is the passion of actually the film.
So my
Media.
understanding is you use innovation as a gateway to get into these industries or get into these roles, or
Yes, that's also true, but that is more like my my motivation. Like, why is that these
Okay.
two parts so interesting for
that
me?
okay, right?
Mhm.
And what do you see yourself doing in the next year or so to actually, now you're at point A where you know what you're supposed to do. Now you have to be at point C, but there's a point B in between
Mm.
where you'll have to be to be sure that you can reach point C. So what's that
Yeah.
point B after a year when you're done with your second degree in San Francisco?
I definitely have to start earlier than that with point B, and I think I have to create a network.
Mhm.
So I need to get to know people from these companies,
Right.
maybe be part of some student projects of these companies,
Okay.
like hackathons or whatever, innovation projects. Get to know people that work there, because that's how American job market works, right? You need to know someone, and then talk to them, convince them about my abilities, and therefore have a vehicle to get in there.
So is there something that you can do in the next few months which will sort of make this real? Maybe reach out to some contacts on LinkedIn, or just go into some meetups related to media. There are plenty of meetups here in Boston that you can go to and start
Mm.
working on your plan and move to point B and then to point C and make this actually happen.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something I can work on. It's hard for me. Like, I don't like calling out favors, for instance, and I don't like cold calling someone. So like just writing someone, a stranger on LinkedIn, and asking, I don't know, for an information or interview
Okay.
is not my favorite thing, to be
Right.
honest. So
Okay.
yes, but I think it's necessary, so I have to get out there and do that.
Mhm.
I have a contact at Disney, who I actually met here at a Halt event and kept
At a
contact with.
Consulting club event.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I already had a FaceTime call with him
Mhm.
personally, and we just had a very nice chat and
Okay.
got along very good. And he offered me, like, if I have a job that I want to look into in Disney, I can I can write down his name and so on.
Okay.
So that's a cool thing, but I have to do that with the other companies as well,
Mhm.
and definitely increase my network, because
Okay.
now it's poorly on that side.
So it seems like you know what you're supposed to do, and you are sort of doing it, but you need to step up.
Start wrapping up.
You need to step up to the next level. You know, go shift in the gears.
Absolutely, yeah, I see
And-
that.
And let's say that within a month, you should try and reach out to X number of contacts that you want to, and
Okay.
then get back to us and
Mhm.
let us know where you are so that we can actually quantify your efforts.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's say by the end of August, I should have reached out to 8 contacts
Okay,
that could lead me to a lead.
perfect.
Yeah, is that something?
That's a realistic goal. That's aggressive in a way, but it's still realistic, and we should start working towards it.
All right. Thank you very much. That helps me a lot.
Thank you.
All right.
Pleasure
Thank
talking to
you.
you.
My pleasure. Good.
All right. So yeah, it went well. You know, it was good. The flow was good. You started off asking how are you doing? You know, just a general banter. After that, you say you remember the past conversation. He was talking about his experience as a KPMG manager. You asked him if he would like to explore that, which is good. It's a good opener. You know, allows for room to navigate and find out, you know, what the core of the session would be. Of course, he reiterates, he speaks about how he came to Holt as a passion for wanting to do his master's in the US.
Right.
He also likes the pace of Holt Business School. You go on to ask him about the transition from the comfortable position of being in Germany and coming to Boston, right? Then you ask him how does he see himself in the next few years, right? Also, good question is open as general. It allows for space to navigate. Then he says that's a lot to process, right? And then you backtrack and then you say, okay, you try to narrow it down, right? It was too general and too broad. And then he says, and then you say, okay, after the masters, what's next? He speaks about, after he wraps up his second degree in San Francisco, he has the option of either going back to KPMG, that's his plan B, or the plan A is to stay here and find something to do here in America, but he has high standards. It obviously has to be something better than what he left, right? And then you say, can we talk about the realities of these paths, right? And which would be more fulfilling? I like that. That's very good, right? It trying to narrow down, and I like the idea of this scale, this ranking that you brought out with achievable, fulfilling. So you run through that. He gives the different career paths and even talks about the specific companies, and what they might offer and how the environment might be. Then you speak about motivation and requirements. Why did I write that down? Well, you summarize and say, if you understand him, he's trying to use innovation as a gateway into these different roles in these different tech and media companies, right? And then speaks about the plan A and the plan B. He has to get a network. He has to know someone. And then you ask him, is that something that he can do this week? You're trying to put a time frame on it, right? So after that, can you move on to plan B and plan C? He says, that's something he likes to do, but he doesn't like calling in favors, but he has a contact at Disney, who he met here at Halt, at the Halt event, is that right? All right. But when he does that, he also has to do that with other companies, reaching out to those contacts. And so you narrow it down again. You say, can we do that within a month? So within a month, he might have to reach out to maybe X number of contacts. And then Marcel narrows it down and says by the end of August, he should have reached out to around 8 contacts. So I think the overall flow is good. But I think you generalize a little bit too much, right? You have the tendency to not rein in the session. And because I think he ends up having to be the one to do a lot of the congregating of what has been spoken of and placing the goals, and which should be more of your role. I understand you want to lead him into identifying things. You don't want to suggest, right? Let him be the one to identify.
Actually, this was something I personally built on from the last feedback that was given to me by you, wherein I was sort of giving the solutions to him, and that's not what this session is all about. It's about him discovering his solutions, and I'm just the facilitator who leads him to that.
Of course.
So that's the whole idea of me being more general or broader.
I'm not, I think you misunderstand me. I'm not saying give him the solutions, right? But even when he has identified this is what has to be done, right? You should congregate it.
Okay.
All right.
So
this is like.
So what you're saying is, I'm not maybe summarizing enough after he.
Summarize the conclusion.
Summarize the conclusion.
Summarize the conclusion.
So he leaves it off, but I'm supposed to actually end it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the only thing.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
I'll keep that in mind. I should summarize more, especially if it's something important.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. Other than that, it was great. Yeah.
Cool.
Other than that, it was great. Just summarize the conclusions and do it more often.
More often.
Because he said he spoke a lot about. He dropped a lot of gems. The conversation had so much opportunity to just clasp a lot of goals in this, that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So other than that, that's it.
Sure.